Gordon, it's just great to be talking to you. It really is. You've written a number of books, Healing the Masculine Soul, and of course, Sons of the Father. It's a great book. I've just almost finished it.
Good.
And it is deep water. I've told a lot of men in my newsletter that only read it if you want to get into deep water. And a lot of men find deep water scary, but
sure.
Sons of the Father, you wrote this I think in 1995.
Yeah.
And there's always a story behind a book. What made you do this?
Yeah, when I had written Healing the Masculine Soul and began to realize that there was a godly strength, a good strength that God gave men that was not only good for men, but good for women too. Not to beat them up and, you know, that kind of old macho kind of stuff. But I realized, yes, then I began to realize more that I could embrace a masculine strength and feel like a man and feel good about that, instead of being criticized for it or put down because I was being shallow and violent and all those kind of things. Began to embrace that strength and that could hold a woman accountable and other men and myself at times and things like that. Then I began to realize that the reason I and most men of my generation didn't have that kind of strength or were afraid of it, pulled back from it, was because we didn't have fathers who gave us that safety in order to be real. I remember once I was playing tennis with a guy, and I knew I was better than he was, but I knew I was up ahead by points, and I lost the match. And at the end, I was just so frustrated. We shook hands, and I said, I don't know what happened. He said, well, I know what happened. I said, you know what happened? I said, what? You know why I lost the match? He said, yeah. I could tell you didn't expect to win it. He said that to me. I could tell. You didn't expect to win. And I realized I had withdrawn from winning. I had withdrawn from my masculine strength. I mean, it wasn't like anything supernatural. I know I play tennis well. And that really struck me. I said, I was withdrawing from, I was running away from my masculine strength. A marvelous story from when I began pastoring some years ago. It must be 30 years ago now, when a fellow pastor called me. He said, this amazing story. He said, this guy in his church came to him, his life was a mess. His wife was gonna divorce him. His boss was gonna fire him. That his doctor said he had possible cancer test. He came into my office. The guy says he was just all disheveled, looked like I said, brother, looks like you haven't had a good night's sleep in weeks. He says, well, actually I haven't, Pastor. He says, I keep getting this nightmare every night. And the pastor says, well, what's the nightmare? He says, well, it's like like this lion is coming after me. And he's chasing me, and I'm running, and finally I'm sweating, and finally I can't run anymore. I'm just dead tired, and I fall down. The lion's face comes right up against me, and I scream awake. And we're taught, well, what could that mean? And finally, they said, well, let's pray about it together. And they prayed about it together, and they got a sense of something. And my friend said, he says, brother, said, why don't you do this? Close your eyes, hold the image of the lion coming after you, and his face is coming right at you, and instead of running away or screaming, I want you to call out for Jesus to be with you. And then I want you to say to the lion, who are you and what are you doing in my dream? This guy's very creative. I mean, we're talking about real spirituality here. We're not just talking about rules and regulations. So the guy said, okay, come, Lord Jesus, come now. Show me what's here. Because, okay, here comes the lion now. And the guy sees, he's shaking and shaking. My friend, the pastor, says, now, what do you, don't run away. Okay, I want to say, here he's coming scared. Jesus, Jesus, who are you? And what are you doing in my dream? And he's got his eyes closed. My friend just described me. He went, oh. And he just mellowed out, just as peaceful, with a little smile on his face. And my friend finally couldn't last. And I'm like, well, what was it? What happened? And the guy opened his eyes and says, he answered me. The lion answered you. I mean, what did he say? He said, I am your courage and your strength. Why are you running away from me? Ay, que hombre, we say in Southern California. What a man. I mean, that's Mexican, isn't it? That's Spanish, yes. That's
Española.
Espanol. And it's like, that's the manly thing we're looking for. That the God who has come in Jesus comes to give men strength, not to eat us up, but to impart strength to us. The Lion of Judah, Jesus is called sometimes. And we run away. And what makes us run away from our manhood is because it's like the old saying, I don't know if you do this in Australia, but like the mom would say it there in the day, wait till your father comes home. And that strikes terror into a little boy's heart. What would it be like for a mom to say, Everything's a mess in the house today. We're fighting each other. Wait till Dad comes home because he's going to take us to Jesus. We're going to pray, and it's going to be so much better when Dad comes home.
Yeah, and
it doesn't work that way, though. But see, I'm talking about a real God who really works in men's lives. And that sense of running away from your masculinity, I realized was coming through all of us because we were afraid of our dads. We were afraid to get close to Dad. He was not a safe person emotionally to be around. He could judge you, he could spank you or whatever like that. And sometimes all you wanted was a hug from Dad because you felt so weak. Yeah. But we would run away from our masculinity as adults as a result.
I think Ed Cole, in his book Maximise Manhood, he says that manliness and Christ-likeness are synonymous. And, we've had an idea that God is effeminate in many ways, and Jesus is effeminate. But when we understand, I believe, true masculinity, we actually understand who Jesus was. But for a man to die on a cross, it is a man that can only do that. And,
he must be centered in something a lot bigger than himself.
Yeah, and we've got to understand that manhood is something that is given from above. I was just saying to you before that I believe that, masculinity is a spiritual thing.
Sure.
And femininity is a spiritual thing. And you're telling some really great stories. To sum some of these things up in a few sentences, how would you sum up what we've just been talking about so we can better explain just very quickly?
When a boy doesn't get what he needs from his father, the affirmation, the touch, the encouragement, even the boundaries that say, son, not don't do that or I'm going to hit you, but say, son, that's going to hurt you bad if you go beyond that. And as your dad who loves you so much, I don't want to see you get hurt. Stay within those boundaries, A boy who doesn't get that, he doesn't get the stuff of manhood. So he doesn't feel like a man. And this spills over into all of the areas of his life. When he doesn't feel like a man, he doesn't have the stuff. People are going to find out he withdraws from relationships. He withdraws from fulfilling his calling because he doesn't feel he's got what it takes. He doesn't measure up. And that comes from not getting it from his earthly father. The good news that I know and have to experience, not because I read a book, because I have experienced spiritually what it means to cry out to God and call God Father. I remember when I began to think God might be Father, and I got on my knees and I started to pray. I said, all right, if you're my Father, that means you can give me what my earthly daddy didn't. I went to college, I figured that one out. So I said, okay, give me what my dad didn't give me. And I couldn't even come up with something because you don't know, if you didn't get it, it's absent and you don't even know what you didn't get. So out of my mouth, Lord, teach me how to play tennis better. My dad, I played pretty good tennis. My dad was a star tennis player. He never taught me how to play. Well, I thought that's a stupid prayer. You'll pray to God about that. A week later, I'm at a pastor's meeting downtown Los Angeles. New guys introduced, I chatted with one of the guys, we hit it off. We're driving back home together. He says, Gordon, I'm new around town. What do you do for fun? I said, well, I guess I'm working too hard, not much. He says, listen, he says, I'm a tennis coach on the side, as well as a pastor. Would you like to play tennis with me? What?
Wow.
He said, what did I say wrong? I said, no. I said, I tell him the story about what I just, a week ago. I'm not talking about words on the page. I'm going to talk about God who is alive and active and hears his son's cries. That the God of the universe who created the stars in heaven cares about little old me who wants to play tennis better. Hey, you can take that to the bank in your heart as a man. And that opened my heart to say, God, my Father, has got what it takes. I'm going to get it.
Gordon, that is totally awesome. It's a fantastic story. And I want to be a good tennis player too.
I'm not sure I can teach you.
But thanks so much.
You bet, my pleasure.
That's great.